It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. Today's date is December 3rd. It is a Wednesday. And what do we do in the B block, which we're in right now, John?
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
A little bit sharp that time, John. You're getting good with your
Thank
pitch.
you.
But
I've been accused of being a little too sharp for you, Brad.
ladies have to do it twice because that's in their contract. And we start off with...
It's number 3.
John, I saw this, and I actually heard it on another radio station yesterday, and I thought of you, John. This is, to me, this is one of these things that's so funny. Okay. I'm sorry.
You going to make it through, Brad?
Yeah,
You gonna be okay?
know.
I don't need you to have your fifth and final heart attack on the air.
This is a lady who started something which John has tremendous interest. You ready for this, John?
Ooh, yeah, I'm ready.
The Society of Fat Mermaids.
Talk about an oxymoron.
Yes, the Society of Fat Mermaids. It started by Shay Monique. She lives in Washington, D.C., and what she's
I can picture her now.
What she's upset about is, first off, it shouldn't be mermaids. It should be merfolk.
Because maids is derogatory and misogynist, I'm guessing.
Right. It denotes females. And secondly, all mermaids in popular culture are depicted as very slim and shapely. Even though they have no feet, they have that big tail, but they're very...
I like a big tail on a little waist.
They're very small. Okay, so if you go to her website, and you think I'm kidding about this, societyoffatmermaids.com. Society of Fat Mermaids was founded by mermaid Shay Monique, D.C. area-based mermaid model and performer. We are here too. And by the way, John, if you're Mr. as Scott Fawn is Mr. Proofreader, you think make mistakes on my websites, you couldn't get through 3 sentences of her website without finding grammatical errors.
I won't go. Continue though, Brad.
Punctuation marks. Okay. These are all bullet points. Encourage you to find your inner merbabe and embrace a joyous, wholehearted life. Diversify the image of merfolk. And this is the third bullet point. Remind the world that fat people and fat mermaids are sexy, powerful, intelligent, capable, beautiful, free-spirited, fun-loving, and worthy. And the fourth bullet point is spread the message of diversity and body positivity in a fun way. So I know John's going to be going to. And you think I'm kidding about this. Society of Fat Mermaids. Now, what's interesting about it is there is a YouTube video, which I also found, which is actually sort of entertaining. It's some lady who has her channel and she interviews people. And the video shows Shay Monique in her mermaid costume, swimming in a swimming pool. John, all I can tell you is I know as soon as we get off the air, you're going to be, going checking out the societyoffatmermaids.com website. I just know it, John. I know it, John.
I think that, the sad thing about the state of Missouri and Attorney General Catherine Hanaway cracking down on adult sites is that maybe a small percentage of people will be forced to look at stuff like the Society of Fat Mermaids.
I don't know. Okay, here we go with number 2.
It's time for Brad's number 2. It's time for Brad's number 2.
Story about federal courts. And this has to do with John and I being NOCO boys, North County boys, Florissant Police. And this was a story that, I think it was last year that we heard this story. The Florissant police officer who was pulling over attractive women for relatively minor traffic incidents. And then when they said their registration and their insurance were on their phone, he said, "Give me your phone." And then you know what he did, John?
He would go back to his squad car and he would use his phone to take pictures of their intimate photos.
Yes, or he would actually transfer. Matter of fact, how he got nailed was apparently some woman was able to verify that he downloaded off of her iCloud account, that he downloaded it through her iCloud account, where I guess he signed into her iCloud account and then he put his email address in that as the recipient and he sent that to her.
Yeah, and so I'm sorry to interrupt, but I know that this story has been replicated several times around the country.
Yes.
I'm guessing if you're a cop that's into this sort of thing, you hear about other cops doing it and you think that sounds efficient. And then I think was this one of the guys, or maybe it was a different cop, that one of the women said, he sure is spending an abnormal amount of time in his squad car just looking at my insurance card. It seems to be odd.
Right. That was part of the story. So essentially, he tried to do a plea deal yesterday for no jail time, but according to what I read, he got 3 years, and he's going to go to jail for 3 years. So, and once again, think about this a minute, John. Go back 30 years, and if someone said to you, hey, there's going to be a time in the future where everything's going to be on your device that you hold in your hand. They won't even call it an iPhone at that point, an Android. Nobody would know what an iPhone or Android was. And what's going to happen is it's going to change life as we know it, because you're going to be able to gamble on this device. You're going to be able to play the lottery on this device. You'll be able to get a date. You'll be able to watch porn. At least you used to be able in the state of Missouri. You'll be able to do all this kind of stuff, and it's all going to be on your phone. And someday, if you're an attractive female, a police officer will pull you over, and he'll take the pictures off your phone of you in your underwear or no underwear, and he'll download those, or he'll actually just screenshot your phone with his phone. Oh, it's going to be a wonderful thing with these new devices. What do you think, John?
I don't mean to minimize the trauma that these women have been through, because I'm sure, they literally feel violated by this, and they have been violated. Can you imagine if you're a woman in the Florissant area and you're watching this news coverage and you think, wait a minute, that guy pulled me over.
Yes, exactly.
But he didn't ask for my phone.
Well, yeah, maybe you felt like,
and then you look in the mirror and be like, wow, I really let myself go. 25 pounds ago, he might have asked me for my insurance and taken my phone back to the car. But what is it about me that makes this officer not want to see my nudes?
In all sincerity, and I take this seriously, me being partially, I worked in law enforcement for 3 years as a police dispatcher. This is the sad part of the story of any kind of job where you've got a bunch of people who are good at what they do, good upstanding folk, and you got one goofball who makes...
That give the rest a bad name,
yes,
right, Brad?
That makes everybody else look, oh, those cops, they're just into porn. Now, having said that, I have heard women talk about this. Remember, for a while, people all these hackers were hacking into like the famous women's phones and downloading their nudes.
Yeah, it was colloquially known as the fappening.
Right. Okay. First off, ladies, why? Tell me why you would have pictures on your phone, unless you're Hunter Biden or one of his escorts or something like that. Why would you have pictures on your phone of you with no clothes on, and maybe possibly you being involved in some sexual activity with someone else? Why would you have that on your phone? I don't understand that, John. I'll never understand that.
I think, Brad, that you have been out of the modern world of female seduction for a long time. And I say that with all due respect. I don't think there's a lot of boomer women sending hot pictures of themselves to men they're attempting to seduce. But I think if you went to Gen X and younger and you asked the women, hey, there's a gentleman caller who you fancy, have you sent him pictures of yourself in various states of dress? And I think that a percentage of women would say, of course I have.
Well, the interesting thing about this is that it's not just the generations. I know several women who are in the dating pool who've told me that they're somewhat shocked when they get a guy that they go online with on one of the dating sites, and pretty much from the get-go, he sends them a Richard picture.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. We'll use the eggplant emoji when we discuss this, right?
Right. And it's to the point where it's like, I'm thinking to myself, first off, who would take a picture of their private?
Well, here's why, Brad. And I think the explanation is pretty simple. Men make a big mistake in thinking that women communicate like them. So as a man, you think, gosh, I just met this beautiful woman. I'd sure love to see her. Bleep. So a man thinks, well, if I want to see that, surely this woman who's shown an indication of interest in me would love to see something similar from me. Why don't I send her my bleep? And men just forget that men are not women and women are not men. Now, if we were on National Public Radio, we'd immediately be kicked off by that. But men assume that women are going to see an explicit display of manhood and somehow be attracted to that, when that's not. Women don't want that. Like women want something a little different, Brad.
I don't get it. Time for number one.
And now, Big Finish, Brad's number
John, this is a thing where you're going to say Dedum Tots, okay? You ready for this?
Oh, no, Brad. Is it about the Salvation Army versus Red Cross?
No, Dedum Tots.
Oh, okay. What is it this time?
And for those of you, what does Dedum Tots stand for, John? Let's refresh everyone's memories.
It stands for discuss this many times on the show. You can find it at the bjshow.co glossary. So when Brad cycles through his top 40 stories, most radio stations have a top 40. Brad has a top 40 stories. And so when Brad repeats one of the stories that he repeats either weekly or every other week, I just, instead of saying to Brad, we've discussed this many times on the show, I just say Dedum Tots. Go ahead, Brad.
So, John, here's my Dedum Tops. I say this from time to time.
The second one is a T. It's not Dedum Tops. It's not a treetop. It's Dedum Tots.
Dedum Tots. Okay. As a high school senior, if someone came to me and said, Brad, in Missouri, someday we're going to have the lottery, we're going to have casino gambling, we're going to have marijuana stores, and we're also going to have sports gambling, which we now have as effective Monday. There's a fifth one now. And you know what the fifth one is? I'm looking
no idea.
I'm looking into my mirror. Romper, do. Tell me true. The fifth one's going to be legalize porn in the state of Missouri because it's just been made essentially illegal because Pornhub has announced they are no longer going to allow Missouri residents to access the Pornhub website. Because, John, and why is this? Because of someone that we had on the show recently?
Attorney General Catherine Hanaway. And for folks who want to hear us go through the story, I mentioned that particular large website yesterday, an A block, Brad. Thank you.
Yes. Pornhub has officially decided they are no longer going to allow people in Missouri because of the reason for this, and tell the reason, John, you know this better than anybody.
Well, the state of Missouri said that they will begin requiring these adult sites to they're going to require adult sites to require users to show proof of age if a certain percentage, I believe it's 1/3 of their content is explicit in nature. Yep.
The crazy thing about this is, if I go to there are certain sites I go to. I don't go to porn sites, but if I go to, for example, if I go to gun sites, there's places where you can buy guns online. And now when you go to those sites, they ask you, are you 18 years of age or older? And you have to answer yes. Okay, a kid who's 10 years old, couldn't he answer yes? I believe
so, Brad. And I'm guessing if you're Catherine Hanaway, I haven't heard Catherine say this or any other state attorney general. I'm guessing you're saying putting up some sort of barrier is better than no barrier at all. And I'm guessing that Catherine would point to this particular large adult website that you just mentioned and say, look, this site is already, pardon the expression, pulling out. So it goes to show that what we're doing is working.
Can I give a parallel example of this?
Please do, Brad.
For years, they kept telling us that you need to get your real ID. You need to get your real ID because you won't be able to get on a plane if you don't have your real ID. Hold on, I got to clear my voice.
And what happened, Brad? What did they keep doing on the timeline? Which direction did it keep moving, up or further away?
They kept moving the timeline back, and I'm a perfect example of that. I got my real ID, and then I lost it, but I couldn't just get my real ID reissued. I had to come up with all my documents, which I couldn't find from the time before. Hold on just a minute again. So now it comes out, if you saw this story, now it comes out, the TSA has realized there are a lot of people that did not get their real ID. So now all you have to do is you just have to pay them more money. You have to pay them $45, and you can get on the plane without a real ID.
Now, that's a proposal, but I don't think that's been put in effect. Isn't it just a proposal?
I thought it was I'm thinking to myself, here we go again. If you're going to say that this is the rule, then don't essentially say, well, some of you people couldn't get your real ID. It's like the crazy, stupid thing with when they talked about the minorities, saying, if you require us to have a driver's license to vote, you're disenfranchising the minorities.
That's right, because minorities clearly don't have the capacity to go get an ID.
Right, and to the point where this is another Dedum Tots. Years ago, when I'm driving back from getting my COVID shot in Raytown, Missouri, I was hearing one of the state legislators on the Eagle in Columbia, Jefferson City talk about the fact that that whole thing was BS because they said that in the state of Missouri, if you go to I think if you call the Secretary of State's office, they do all the work for you. They will research your driver, they will research your birth certificate, and it will cost you nothing to get an ID in the state of Missouri.
Yeah, they go to great lengths to do that. The Missouri Secretary of State's office, good old J. Bird Ashcroft, pioneered that whole thing.
They do nothing. I mean, they charge you nothing, and they do it all for you. So there is absolutely, positively no excuse. And I guess I'm thoroughly amazed by the fact that as my daily travels, there's probably not a week that doesn't go by that I'm asked for my ID 3 or 4 times. For example, when I got into a little bit of...
When you go to the hospital, Brad, what do they do when you go visit Shelley Barr in the hospital? What did they have you do?
They not only do they check my ID, they scan my ID.
They scan it. And where does that go? They say it's for your safety, but we know better.
Yes.
If people want to hear a great take, I'm sorry to interrupt the story you've told 400 times on the show. If you want to hear something new in life, go to Camellia Peterson's X account. You can find it at Rare Camellia, Camellia. Camellia has a prescient opinion on, you know how you can get your photo taken when you're coming through the line? Camellia gives you some advice on what you should or should not do. She also weighs in yesterday on the TSA. I'd just like to plug that, Brett.
The crazy part of this is the perfect example that I say that this is government when they should take their rules an inch and instead they go 36 inches. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, boy, women have demanded that of you for a long time, Brad. And you generally give them 1/36 of what they want.
Thanks, John. Okay, we have to take a break.